And that goes for car noises, too. Listen closely, because unheeded, these sounds could be worth $1,000 in repairs. Roar! Deep, prolonged sound, like a lion or wind. Rumble! Low, continuous sound, like thunder. Squeak! High-pitched sound, like rubbing a clean window. Squeal! Continuous high pitch, like fingernails on a chalkboard. Tap! Light hammering sound, like tapping a pencil. Remember, the only good sound coming from your car is the radio. Voice all others to your technician. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And good morning. Welcome to this edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. The 888 number is also available. Miss Hannah will take your calls at 888-227-2546. That's 227-2546, as opposed to 237. I guess I don't. There you go again. Mine's a terrible thing to waste, so I'm going to waste it for 2 hours with you and everyone across the nation. So sit back and you may as well just ride along with us, and you'll hear some really good information today about automobiles, and I'm going to give you some fall car care tips of what you should do this time of year to make sure your car stays on the road and is safe. You may not put a lot of stock into being safe, but until something happens, and then it's too late. So you make sure it's not too late for you. Just every Saturday from 10 till noon, you tune in to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part today by O'Reilly Auto Parts. You can improve visibility, talking about safety, and save money. Wait, that's a dual. That's a dual yes. At O'Reilly Auto Parts, you can stop by for their See Better, Drive Safer sale, where you earn a $15 gift card after a mail-in rebate when you purchase either Sylvania headlight bulbs, Bosch Focus, or Trico Titan wiper blades. They'll even install your wiper blades while you wait, and that can be a trick, folks. Don't risk safety because of poor visibility. Find what you need at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices, every day. I'm Bobby Likis, your host. Coming up, a little trip to Daytona when I come back. A 2013 Honda Accord came in the shop running rough, stalling, and a check engine light. The vehicle had originally been repaired by another shop. After a thorough diagnosis, we found the vehicle was generating a bad signal from the crankshaft position sensor. This seemed odd as it had just recently been replaced, but the scope doesn't lie. A bad waveform signal needs to be fixed. Our solution? A new crankshaft position sensor from Motorrad. A longtime leader for vehicle thermostats and caps, Motorrad now offers engine management products that are engineered to meet and or exceed OEM specifications. They're designed to perform under severe operating conditions and are resistant to extreme heat. We made the change and that fixed the car. Motorrad engine management products are manufactured in Tier 1 OEM facilities with top quality qualifications. They undergo comprehensive 100% in-line and end-of-line testing to ensure uncompromising quality. Learn more about Motorrad engine management products and other Motorrad solutions at Motorrad.com. Folks, you know that tune-ups are often scheduled at 100,000 miles, but carbon constantly builds up on the valves and the combustion chambers inside an engine. Fuel injectors can also become clogged. Thanks to Berryman, with their 4-step professional air and fuel management kit, we can clean both the wet side, which is the fuel side, and the dry side, which is the intake manifold side of your engine. We use Berryman's 4-step professional air and fuel management maintenance kit to clean the fuel system and decarbonize both the wet and dry side every 30 to 40,000 miles. It features mass airflow sensor cleaner, air intake and throttle body cleaner, an intake valve and combustion chamber cleaner, and a liquid pourable professional fuel system cleaner. Learn more about Berryman's 4-step professional air and fuel management maintenance kit at berrymanproducts.com. That's berrymanproducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Rosie Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, it starts my morning. Happy morning, your name is Folgers Mountain Grow. Now you're here, your aroma helps me wake, and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And a special good morning to you. I hope you had a great week. It has been for us a little cool earlier this week at 38 degrees. And if you're along the Gulf Coast of Florida, that's pretty darn cold. However, this morning and yesterday, it's like, I guess, weather in California. I mean, the humidity is down and the temperature is up. And in the, what I'd say, Fabio, what is it, 45s, 50s or so, you think? Yeah, about that. But it's really comfortable, and I've got on a sort of a long sleeve polo shirt that makes it very comfortable. The phones are already stacking up, so if you're John, I see John from New York is calling back on a past topic, so I'm interested to see what he has to say. And Hannah's working through another couple of calls. So in the meantime, folks, I promised you a quick trip to Daytona, so let's do exactly that now. And the number to call is 888-227-2546. Now, a special guest in the house many times and always welcome, Terry Sabbathson, Motorsports Director for WNDB 1150 News Talk Radio there in Daytona. Terry, welcome back. Glad to have you in the house today, man.
Glad to be here, Bobby. And real quick, I want to get this out of the way because I talked about a couple weeks ago Escambia County and Mainland played high school football last night, and I got to congratulate Escambia County for the win. They move on in the playoffs to the state championship game, why that's important. The state championship games are played here in Daytona, so I might get to see Escambia County play here in a couple weeks. Well.
Now the truth comes out. So I wonder why you brought up football, in the middle of nowhere. I mean, folks, he calls me during the week, said, I want to talk about football this week. I said, who is this? So what else is up in Daytona? And thank you, congratulations to Escambia County football team. Go, that is just terrific. And yeah, I look forward to the next step in that. But in the meantime, let's talk cars.
Let's talk cars. Let's talk. How about a time machine of speed and sound? The historic sports car racing here, the classic 24 hours. Sponsored by IMSA, Daytona National Speedway. It doesn't get any better than this, Bobby. The history, a museum of cars on the track. They've been out here since Wednesday. You get to see Lolas. You get to see Porsches. I just saw the HSR Group 3. There was everything from Javelins to Corvettes to Porsches to Aston Martins out here for a sprint race. But the big deal is the 24-hour race, and that's coming up starting at 2 o'clock this afternoon. And there are 6 groups. Each one runs 1 hour, and then all of them run, and then they do it again, and then they do it again, and then they do it again. So each group will run 4 hours total, but over a period of 24 hours. And it's literally the cars from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, all the way up to within about 5 years ago that's running the Rolex 24, that's run at Le Mans. We got Lolas. That's the highlighted car out here. The Lolas are beautiful. This is crazy. This is a car guy's dream, and it's a huge crowd. I'm just overwhelmed. Can you tell?
Well, yeah, obviously. So, Terry, so that I understand, so let's say you have 6 groups, 1 through 6. So the first group comes out and runs only a sole by itself for 1 hour, and then group 2 comes out and so on and so forth, or what?
Correct.
So you don't have
1 hour.
You don't have 1, 2, 3, 4, or 2, 3, and 6, or you never have 2 groups of different varietals on the track at the same time, right?
Well, actually, during testing on Wednesday and Thursday, there was an assortment.
That's interesting.
But yes, now they're in their classes.
Now, folks, let me share this with you because I've been around that track with Terry actually in Daytona International Speedway. What is really interesting, let's say that you're in a Group 1, and Group 1 happens to be the slowest of the cars, and Group 5 or 6 happens to be the fastest. So you're running your flat out at 138 miles an hour, and you're really doing well, and here comes a car by you at 220 miles an hour, but you're coming up on a curve. What is that dog leg on the back track? What is that called?
The bus stop.
Yeah, the bus stop. You're coming up on the bus stop. And both of you just happened to hit the bus stop at the same time. Now, Terry, that has to be a weird. Who has the right of way? As if that really counted.
You think about it. The faster car has to make the decision of what he's going to do. He's got to maneuver around that slower car. The slower car is doing everything he can.
Okay.
I think that you got to be careful as a faster car and maneuver around these guys.
Yeah, makes
but
sense.
That's what's cool about this. These guys don't. That's the Rolex 24. Now you're in your basic same group, so there's not a lot of that, but still, just seeing these cars on track, it's a little overcast here in Daytona. I could hear them from my front porch 4 miles away this morning. All of Daytona is listening to the sound of all these race cars out here on the track.
Now wait a minute. You hear it from your front porch. I thought you lived at the Daytona International Speedway.
Well, if I can get away with it, I'm working on an RV. If they'll let me park one here on the property, I'd live on it most of the time because there's always something happening at Daytona International Speedway.
Well, that's true. And, of course, you have football, you have the motor. Years ago, and, folks, I want to share this with everyone tuned in now, just for a quickie. Years ago, I called and was talking with a caller, a gentleman who lived in Orange Beach, in Daytona or nearby. I forget now. But I asked him what he thought about having 500,000 motorcyclists, during the bike week to come down. And I was expecting Terry to hear this person say, "Oh, I wish those guys wouldn't come down here." But you know what he said? He said, "We love them." He said, "It's a boon. Yep. It's for our community. It's income for the community. And for the most part, they're well behaved. And I'm sure you have some that aren't. But I can tell you, it's really neat to have a small, you think of Daytona as a small town, because it is a small town. But it's a small town with big ideas that work. That's a new slogan for your downtown folks. There you go, from me to them.
Well, it's Daytona International Speedway that makes it work. And this event started out in 2014. It was going to be every 2 years. It was such a success. IMSA stepped up and sponsored it this year. They moved it to this weekend so that it didn't compete with the IMSA Encore at Sebring. They're going to turn around and take all these cars to Sebring in 2 weeks and do the same thing for the 12-hour race. So this historic sports car racing has turned snowballed into something huge. They got the Bully Brigade here. They're all a bunch of Volkswagen split-window microbuses, and there's probably 100 of them. They've taken over the dog leg on the infield road course, camping out. The camping areas are filling up. The parking areas are filling up. It's a great day to come out to Daytona National Speedway.
Wow. Starting
to clear off. A little cool. We're in the low 60s, but that makes the cars go faster. It's just a gorgeous day at Daytona National Speedway, and ticket prices are reasonable to come out. I think it's $55 for 2 days. And there's going to be an overnight race, fireworks at 8 o'clock tonight, Lola's on the track, Porsches, Ferraris, Lamborghinis. They got a car show, Sound of Speed. I saw Lamborghinis, Corvette. Just a few minutes ago, open cockpit Corvettes out here on the track. They go by a Porsche and literally pass them in the banking, and then you'd see them come the next time around, and the Porsche caught back up with them in the infield road course. So it's just this unimaginable sights and sounds.
The magic number for me is 6.5. 6.5.
Okay.
That's when I close the radio network down today, which is another hour and so many minutes from now, it takes me 6.5 hours to get to Daytona. So you never know, I just might show up. Terry, always great to have you in the house, and sound like a lot of fun. And thanks for sharing that with our national audience. And folks, for all of you who live in the Daytona area, you're lucky. You really seriously are lucky. What a great sports event, and what a great just fun event to take the kids out too as well, and camp. How cool is that? Terry, thanks so much for sharing all of the great information today from WNDB 1150 News Talk Radio there in Daytona, from the Daytona International Speedway.
Bobby, if you can hear in the background, there's the Trans Am Series rolling off for their season finale race going on right now. So we've got racing on track, Willow, for the next 24 hours. Come to Daytona, have fun with us. We'll see you in about 6.5 hours, Bobby.
Okay, all right, my friend. Thanks again. Fabio would blow his mind if I drove up, but if I did, I'll tell you, the hospitality is just unbelievable. Hospitality in Daytona matches hospitality in Owego, New York, where I race. Speaking of New York, let's go to John in New York. We have John. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Tent. Thanks for holding.
Thank you, Bobby.
We do have a hard break coming up, but let's start our conversation, and then I see that Ray and Morris are on the line, but let's begin our conversation that I want you to hold through the break, and I'll turn the mic to you now.
Okay.
So it's your...
And Gary, a couple of weeks ago, you talked about you bought a LED lighting kit for your brother.
Yes.
Okay. What was that you bought for your brother? I want to get that for my car.
Those were Silver Star, Fabio. It's Silver Star. Is that right? Ultras. Yeah, Silver Star Ultras. It's a Sylvania brand. I put those in my Viper, in 2000 and let's see, this is 3 or 4 years ago, to upgrade. I didn't have any issues with the Viper because I only had 30,000 miles. The lens weren't fogged or anything, but I just upgraded. And then recently I sent a little gift care package to my brother, which included some struts and some other things. But in that gift package, I included the Sylvania bulbs. And what was really neat about this was he sent me a note back after he installed them, and he says, "I can't believe this." He said, "I'm ashamed." I said, "Ashamed of what?" He said, "Well, I'd already put some other brand bulbs in there, and I forget what they were, but it doesn't matter." He said, "These are really, really way bright, and they really work well." So, John, thank you so much for calling. Again, always, 888-227-2546. I'll be back, folks. entertainment and GPS systems, heated seats, backup cameras, and start-stop technology. Just a few of the electrical demands we put on today's vehicles. AGM, or absorbent glass mat batteries, are up to the challenge. They're precision-engineered to offer ultimate combination of power, durability, and reliability. Short-distance driving means your battery is not fully recharging. AGM batteries are more efficient than traditional flooded batteries when partially charged. They consume less power from the alternator. AGM, the better battery for today's vehicles. Learn more at autobatteries.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
This car repair spotlight brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. This week we had a 2013 Ford Escape 1.6 Ecoboost with 83,000 miles come in with two problems: coolant leak and squeaky belt. Seems the water pump was leaking coolant directly onto the belt. We called our local O'Reilly Auto Parts professional and ordered a new pump and serpentine belt. Given our past success with brand name parts, we agreed with our O'Reilly Auto Parts professional and installed a Murray water pump and a Master Pro belt. We also performed our pre-repair coolant system procedure to ensure the entire system was clean and new coolant not contaminated by old, which adds life to the repair job. We returned the car to the owner, roadworthy and thoroughly repaired. She was most pleased that she has a road trip planned for the Thanksgiving week. Having 48 years in automotive service and repair, we know where to find the best parts, right there at O'Reilly Auto Parts. That's why we make O'Reilly Auto Parts our first call. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices, every day.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
I'm 98.
Higher.
Higher, 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I have 7 fall car care tips to keep you safely on the road. I'll share those with you momentarily, but it's time for you to call 888-227-2546. We'll take another call from New York. New York, Ray, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thank you for holding, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What can I do for you?
I got a 2010 Dodge Ram. My service engine light keeps coming on for misfires, multiple misfires.
Right.
So I changed. It's a 4.7. I've changed all the plugs, the coils, the wires, and I still get that when it's running cold for 2 minutes, and then it straightens right out. I used purple in the gas, hoping that it wasn't the fuel injectors, and that didn't seem to do anything for it either. I took it to a dealer, and they said it might be because my CO2 sensor comes on and reads for that also. So I changed one of them, and now it still comes up with another CO2, and they're telling me that might be causing the misfire. I don't know if that's a fact or not. Somebody else told me the CO2.
It is, Ray, because anytime that you have a misfire, that means that you're putting fuel in that cylinder, and for the most part, and this is not entirely accurate here, so for you techies out there, let me finish before you condemn me. If the injector is working and the spark plug or the coil isn't, or whatever feeds the coil isn't working for any reason, then raw fuel goes into that cylinder. And of course, that's what the converter's job is, to burn any excess fuel. But raw fuel, it just doesn't like. And in fact, raw fuel is sometimes injected in some of the vehicles along with air to get the converter up to operating temperature early on, but that's a different part of the emission system. So you definitely could have a converter code, O2 sensor code, caused by a misfire. There's no question about that. You can also damage the converter by a misfire, but that won't cause, a converter cannot cause and will not cause a misfire. That's upstream. A converter is downstream. So having said that, you replaced all of the coils and you replaced all of the spark plugs. I presume you did that at the same time. Is that right, Ray?
I did the plugs first, and then the light went off for 2 weeks, and then it came back on. So then I changed all the coils.
Well, let me ask you. Let me ask you a question.
And then
all right, go ahead. I'll let you finish, please.
And then I changed the wires.
Okay. So I guess my question: have you, since all of this, here's what needs to be done, because you have an ongoing problem, and you've replaced the known suspects. What I would do is clear the code in the computer. I would record all codes. We always record all codes because you want that medical record, you want that history. And then I would clear all codes, and then I would drive the vehicle until the light came back on, and I would see what triggered that light. And if it's downstream, then you could have an improper fuel mixture or vacuum leak, something causing the problem upstream that would cause and throw a code on the downstream. Downstream meaning after the engine. You with me there, right?
Right.
Okay. So, and then there's one other code there's one other readable report in the computer system, in the ECM or the power control module, that you need to ask a technician to retrieve, and that's fuel trim. And fuel trim is exactly what its name implies. Fuel trim is a percentage of added or subtracted fuel in real time to maintain the proper air-fuel mixture. And what does that mean? Well, it means that it's a history of. Think about it this way: in the wintertime, you have to cut your grass about every, I don't know, there in New York, maybe once a month or maybe once every 2 months. In the summertime, you enjoy the grass, but you have to cut it every week. So if you were to track the number of cuts that you did per year and then categorize those into times of year, that would be checking your cut trim. You would know when you had to cut and how much you had to cut and at what period of time. And if all of a sudden you're cutting 3 months out of the year, but you're cutting 7 months out of the year and not cutting 3 months out of the year, you know there's a change in the climate or the weather there in New York, because you know it's colder more often than it is warmer, so to speak. Now, in fuel, there's a percentage, like if you get beyond 3% or 5% or 8%, and you get up to 10 to 12%, that is catastrophic, which means if the fuel trim is having to deal with the air-fuel mixture and change the air-fuel mixture up to 12%, then you have issues with vacuum or flooding or fuel pressure or injector problems and those sorts of things. But not to belabor it here, what you need to know is from your technician what the fuel trim percentage is, and if it's 3 to 5%, then you're okay in the fuel distribution or the air leakage or vacuum leaks arena. And then you can look elsewhere, and elsewhere would be exactly that, elsewhere, but that would be determined once you had this reporting. So you see where I'm trying to help you here, just because you put coils, because in the process of clearing the computer, before I let you go, one more thing, Ray, when you clear the computer and the code comes back, when you immediately read that code, if it's the same code all over again, then you can hone in on that code. But if it's scattered, if it's, maybe it's number 7. See, it's possible you got a bad coil. Even though they're all new, it's possible you got a bad one.
Okay. And I did have it, the codes cleared after I got everything changed. I had them all cleared out.
Okay.
And the first thing to come up was the O2 sensor.
Well, then
passenger side downstream.
Then downstream. Well, then there's a pre-cat and a post-cat sensor. The pre-cat monitors the air-fuel ratio or lack of. It monitors the air, the oxygen coming out of the engine, and that's what it is. It's a sensor that monitors oxygen. So, if the pre-cat sensor is not the issue and the post-cat sensor is, then you could have a catalytic converter that is your issue that was damaged by the previous condition, because the post-cat is supposed to be flatline. It's not supposed to show any excess lean or fuel, heavy fuel. Lean or rich. Rich is fuel. Lean is lack of fuel and too much oxygen. So if the converter were doing its job, then it would not emit anything but clean air or cleaned air, and therefore that sensor would show flatline because it's not showing any voltage up and down. And voltage is caused by the air-fuel mixture being burned and processed. So if you have a post-cat downstream O2 sensor that is throwing a code, then that indicates that you have a catalytic converter issue. I would clear the code again before I'd buy a cat, though, because that can be expensive. And just know this, you can use, Ray, you can buy an aftermarket cat and install on that vehicle. Even if it doesn't look the same, you can have an aftermarket muffler shop replace the cat, because all catalytic converters have to meet federal mandate. So you don't go and get a high performance catalytic converter, although you can buy one, but you don't go and get a brand A, X, or Z, because they all have to meet federal mandate to be sellable legally on the street for street cars. You got me?
Yes.
Okay. So your next goal is this: have the code, clear it again, and start afresh. And if it comes back with a downstream post-cat sensor, then you probably have a catalytic converter that's causing the issue, and I would have that converter tested, and then the next step would be to replace that converter. Not an inexpensive fix, but at least to get you to the other side, and it would definitely tells me that your previous condition that you've corrected caused this problem and damaged that converter. You got it?
Got it.
Okay,
Thank
my friend.
You so much.
You're
for your
welcome
time.
so much. Thank you for your call. Great information, and always love to share that with folks. 888-227-2546. Let's go to South Carolina. Morris, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Bobby, I have a 2017 Ford Escape.
Okay.
And a couple of days ago, had the tire pressure monitor system lit up a light.
Yes, sir.
Is there any way to turn that off?
Well, yeah, fix the air the tires up.
I did.
Well,
didn't change the thing.
Well, you can reset. You can those. A tire shop or most any service shop can reset that system. You don't turn it off.
Okay.
You just reset it, and it gets happy again. So you just want to make it happy again.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And just for you to know, Morris, there are two different types of TPMS, tire pressure monitoring systems.
Right.
One is where you have a battery-powered sensor that is part of the valve stem in each wheel, and that will. And the challenge with those, when you rotate your tires, you have to tell your computer that, oh, by the way, the right front is no longer the right front. You have to reprogram that and reset that. Now that's one. That's called a direct system. There's an indirect system, and the indirect system uses the speed of each tire to determine how much air pressure is in it. And just think about it this way. Let's say there's four guys, and we're carrying a crate. And three of the guys are 6 feet 5 inches tall, and the other short guy is me at 5'7". So their legs are just walking and walking and walking, and my little legs are trotting because I can't keep up because my stride's different because I'm shorter. The same thing is true for an indirect tire pressure monitoring system when a tire is low on pressure, and the threshold is about 6 psi, then it is flatter than the other tires, and therefore it has shorter legs or a shorter circumference, and it's turning faster. And you can't have 3 tires turning 40 miles an hour and one going 32 miles an hour, because that indicates you got a low pressure. Got it?
Right.
Okay.
These tires, just for information, these tires only have 2,000 or 3,000 miles on them.
Well, it's not, tires have nothing to do with it. It's the air pressure. But you already got that corrected. So just go to a certified ASE technician and have them or a tire shop. If these are only 3,000 miles old, go to where you bought the tires and ask them to reset your monitor. They should do it for free. Okay? There you go. Morris from South Carolina. When I come back, I'm going to take you on another trip to Nevada, Las Vegas, Nevada, and talk to Captain Jim. Don't go away. I'll be back. A 2015 Ford Escape recently came into the shop, 120,000 miles and going strong, but it was starting to hesitate, and the customer also complained of declining fuel economy. This 2-liter turbocharged engine is GDI, or gas direct injection, and special maintenance is needed in certain areas, particularly the fuel system. We suspected carbon buildup, and sure enough, using a borescope through the spark plug hole, there was definite evidence of carbon buildup. GDI engines are different in the way they inject fuel, and it can create some issues with repair and maintenance. That's why it's important to use products rated for GDI, like Berryman's 4-step professional air and fuel management maintenance kit. Each step of the process is designed with GDI engines in mind. We use the kit, and after 2 weeks on the road, the car is performing noticeably better, and MPG has improved a bit. Learn more about Berryman's 4-step professional air and fuel management maintenance kits and other great products at berrymanproducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but mornings knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic, brought to you in part by Omnicraft. Backed by Ford, high quality, competitively priced parts for your non-Ford or Lincoln repairs. Non-Ford or Lincoln. So if you got a Chevrolet, if you have a GM car, these are Omnicraft parts that are backed by Ford. You can learn more about Omnicraft where? At omnicraftautoparts.com. That's pretty simple, isn't it? If you want to know more about Omnicraft parts, omnicraftautoparts.com. There you go. Check it out. Let's go to Nevada and talk to, the stranger in the house. The stranger in the house is back in the house. Captain Jim, Where you been?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I've been hiding.
Hey, you can run, but you can't hide.
That's it, yeah. If you remember, about almost 3 months ago, I was having a problem with my Ford Explorer 2013 model with the parasitic draw, or what we thought was a parasitic draw.
I do.
And battery problems.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that cropped back up again last week. And I thought, oh no, here we go again. I've got that. I must have a parasitic draw because it has a new battery.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I finally got an appointment to take it into Ford, not the dealer that I bought it from. They were so booked up I couldn't get in there.
Right.
So I went to a secondary one, which they owned as well. Anyway, I got in there. I showed the service guy what my problem was, and I said I thought I had a parasitic draw because Ford had put a brand new battery in there. And he looked at it, and because I tow this particular car behind the motorhome, he saw that we had that add-on package thing to pull it. And he says, oh, I can't service your car. You're going to have to take somebody else because of the aftermarket on there. And I says, well, it's an electrical problem. You must have somebody, a technician in the back, that could at least trace it out and find it. And he was insistent that he was not going to do it. So I finally had to just leave. I took it to the place that actually installed it. They said, well, we'll look at it, but it will be 2 weeks. So that didn't fly. I had to go to another place that they recommended, which was a Ford truck, big truck repair place. He was really nice, and he said, yeah, we could probably find the problem, but you'll have to leave the car, and it'll be about 3 days before we can look at it. So that didn't fly. So then I got to thinking, I have a friend who's in the RV business, Johnny Walker's RV here in town. I took it to him, and he says, okay, let me get my service guy to take a quick look at it.
Mm-hmm.
So I pulled it back into his shop, which is huge. They have a huge shop. And his service tech right away took and put a voltmeter on it.
Mm-hmm.
And, no, an amp meter.
Right.
Yeah. And had me start it up and run it and then shut it off. And, boy, it was pulling 25 amps. And then all of a sudden the 25 went away and it was just in a millivolts. He says, well, that's pretty normal for a car with electronics on it. Then he surprised me. He grabbed a screwdriver, popped the caps off of the battery. I says, wait a minute, that's a sealed battery. He says, no, it's a wet cell battery. They put wet cell batteries. I didn't know that. I thought everything was sealed batteries.
No, they have
these
both.
days.
Mm-hmm. There's both.
Yeah. Anyway, he put his hydrometer in it, and sure enough, it had a dead cell.
Well,
so what's the battery
darned.
again?
I'll be darned.
A 3-week-old battery. So I went back to that Ford dealer because I was mad. He could have found that out.
Yeah, really.
And I got the manager. See, I've been listening to you too long. I went and got the manager of the place and told him our sad story. And after about a half a box of Kleenex, he said, yeah, my service guy should not have told you to go away. He should have tried to check it out and help you. So anyway, they replaced the battery under warranty. And so now I'm back to square one. But I was so surprised that they were a wet cell battery. Now I don't know how to take care of it.
Well,
I just thought I had to tell you that story.
It is.
That's all the other problems we
That's
had.
a heck of a story, Captain Jim. And unfortunately, number one, the industry, you as by your very description of your story, the industry shows that to qualified technicians, there's a severe shortage of qualified technicians. I mean, we're talking 74,000 jobs a year short.
Wow.
Throughout the nation. And the bottom line, the average age of a technician is 47 years of age in the industry now. And in fact, and I'm not sure where I got this stat. I haven't been able to find it, but I haven't really looked that closely or that diligently yet. But I know I read it somewhere, and because about those sorts of things, my mind is hopefully like a steel trap. The average, a 19-year-old, of all 19-year-olds in the United States, only 50% or less have driver's license these days. So it shows you that the interest in cars, and certainly the interest in working on cars, has turned on the downside. And what that's causing, now we're seeing the cause and effect, is a shortage of technicians. And if you call any straightforward, honest shop owner and say, what's your biggest challenge? It's finding qualified technicians. So to that end, on the other side of the coin, when you have aftermarket modifies, which means that in your case the system had been modified, albeit not with special lights and what have you, but just with the trailer towing, then the dealer used that as an excuse to cop out. But in the fair sense of the word, it really wasn't so much a cop-out. It was that because the wiring had been changed, he was concerned, or whoever you talked to first was concerned, they were going to open up a bag of worms, and they were going to be, after 2.5 hours, they're going to have to give you your car back and then probably give you the 2.5 hours of free labor. That's what they were afraid of. So a lesson learned here, because I've been on both sides. We turn down jobs all the time. We turned down one this week, 2 this week. Now, here's the way to do this. In a case where you have a reasonable owner and an individual who's not asking for, for anything odd other than I've got a battery problem here, the least that shop should have done is to say, well, here's what we will do. We will at least test the main culprit. What's the main culprit? Everything starts, no pun intended, with the battery. We'd at least test the battery and eliminate that. And we can also test for you, which we will charge you, by the way, not to test the battery because it was a young battery and still under warranty. But we will test for any parasitic draw. And of course, as he said, there was a draw to start with. Well, yeah, that's because when you first turn off any late model automobile, late model being, in the late 90s and up, so a lot of years, the computer continues to run, just like your dash lights continue, or your interior lights. All those things have to wind down and go to sleep. And we actually have seen some of the automobiles, and your particular make vehicle, we've seen and had 2 of those to come in. One was a Lincoln Navigator, and the other one, I forget, but it was a Ford product that had the entertainment system in the rear headliner, where you have the screen that comes down. That entertainment system had shorted, or otherwise, was drawing current. And Johnny, who is our ASE certified, he's our guru in the shop, ASE certified technician master. Johnny found the feed wires to go to that unit. So rather than to replace the unit because it was an older vehicle and the unit was never used because it was a empty nester, so they didn't have any kids in the back, no grandkids or what have you. And so the bottom line, from a financial standpoint, we had to disconnect that unit. And so he went to the D pillar, which is the post behind the left rear door, and removed the upholstery. And there was like you'd get a kick out of this, Captain Jim. There was like a 20-pin connector there. Yeah, at least a 15 or 20-pin connector. And he determined that pin number 12 was the feed wire. And he went in there, so as not to damage any of the wire, he retrieved or unplugged out of the male-female plug socket. He removed the feed to that wire, or not the feed, but the fed wire. Because the feed wire would be hot, the fed wire would be the one that would be the culprit. And if so it's like removing this light bulb. You don't kill the power going to the light bulb socket. You just take the light bulb and unscrew it, and that makes the light go out. So he did that and solved this problem. But we had that vehicle in the shop for a week, and he probably had a day and a half in hard time to find it because it was not. It was just a small draw. I think it was like 150 milliamps. 25 milliamps is the threshold. Any automobile will draw 25 milliamps, and any battery will lose about 20% plus of its voltage over a month's time. But that's not to say that you couldn't park if I park my car and go to Europe or go to Cabo San Lucas for 3 weeks, when I come back, my car's going to start, and if it doesn't, I'm upset. Now I'm saying, hey, that's not something's wrong here, but it was wrong before I left. But anyway, I'm glad that you got on the other side. Just remember this: the answer to me, the answer to that problem, with your problem specifically with batteries, would be an AGM battery. And then you don't have those problems because AGMs are superior. And I'm talking about an Optima. And they're yellow top, blue top, and red top. Probably a yellow top Optima is what I would have put in your vehicle if I were your service provider, because I would know, number one, that you're going to keep that vehicle. You use that vehicle. It doesn't have many miles because you tow it behind your RV, and so you just need to get over the problem and do it with such consistency and quality that you know that you're not going to have these issues. So that the next time that you have a need for a battery, or any of your motorhomes need battery, you look at the Optima because they're superior. I mean, they're the construction, the material, and their AGM, which is absorbent glass mat. So you can put them in at different angles and what have you. It's not an issue. Hey, I really appreciate you calling today, and always great to hear from you in Las Vegas there, Captain Jim.
Well, I appreciate your help. And by the way, I told the service providers they need to listen to you on Saturday mornings. They said they would.
Well, you know what, and that would be really great. In fact, one of our inaugural stations that you may have heard, I spoke with Terry Sabbath earlier, was WNDB. And WNDB, that's a big station there in Daytona. John Hall Chevrolet is probably the most famous or well-known dealer there in Daytona. And Tony Gain is in charge of all the service for all the dealership group now. When we started on WNDB, he was a technician in the shop, and he used to listen to me, and because Tony's kind of one of those fact finders, and he said, "Let me see if this guy knows what he's talking about, or at least, And so Tony and I, just through osmosis or whatever, through mutual respect, became friends, and I actually went down to Daytona and produced, and here this owner of an independent shop producing a radio broadcast from the service department of John Hall Chevrolet. We did that 2 or 3 times, and it was just great. We had food, we had friends, and we had a lot of great times and a lot of great memories there. So it is not unusual for service shops and even dealerships to tune in to the program, because it's not about Bobby Likis. It's about callers like you, Captain Jim, sharing your story, and those stories are applicable to any automobile across the nation. So that's what it's really all about. Hey, always great to hear from you. Thank you so much.
Okay, you bet. Have a good day.
Thank you. Folks, that's just really, really terrific. And I want to also, while I'm here talking about WNDB, I want to move from Florida to Arkansas. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a long-time program there, and we'd like to extend our congratulations to our longtime affiliate, KURM 790 AM and 100.3 FM in Rogers, Arkansas. And folks, this month, for all of you folks in Rogers, KURM is celebrating its 40th anniversary in radio broadcasting. In fact, KURM commenced broadcasting on the airwaves at noon on November 9th, 1979, and has broadcast Bobby Likis Car Clinic for, I guess, more than 20 years. So I want to thank, and special thanks to the Colonel at KURM for continuing a partnership. And I love to hear from folks there in Rogers, Arkansas, which is Bentonville area, which is the Walmart area. And also, folks, just for you to know, there are four of the Colonel's offspring were in Desert Storm at one time. And as we speak, Congressman Stephen Womack is 62, and he's a native of Russellville, Arkansas. And in the fall of 1979, Steve relocated to Rogers, where he and his father established KURM, and Steve served as station manager from 79 through 90. So hats off to all the Womacks and to the Colonel and to KURM and to all our great affiliates of Bobby Likis Car Clinic across the nation. I'm your host, Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Folks, you never want to get surprised by a dead battery. A vehicle's original battery generally lasts about 3 to 5 years, but many fail long before then. Next time you're in for an oil service, have the technician test your battery. Better now than too late. Today's vehicles have start-stop systems, navigation, radio amplifiers, electric fuel pumps, 25 or more onboard computer modules, and serious electronic controls that depend on a strong, fully charged battery. Make sure the car you're driving has a healthy battery. Make yourself a note. Go to autobatteries.com and see for yourself how a battery can keep you safely driving down the road or put you on the side, just like that. At autobatteries.com, you'll see battery technology, battery testing, how to choose the battery, how to jumpstart your battery, and more about AGM batteries, my choice. I'm not here to make you a battery expert, rather to help you better understand why a reliable battery is essential for your road trips. Go to autobatteries.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the Kulsiford section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the Kulsiford section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with. And by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemals. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's Vehicle Protection Program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. We already have completed the first hour. This is the second hour broadcast as 2 hours every, what is that? Hello. That's my producer just rude. That was a rude interruption you had. 888 Car Clinic is the number, 888-227-2546. He was just queuing up the next He was just queuing up the break, which I got a hard break coming up, so I know that now. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part this morning by Clarius, the world's largest producer of automotive AGM batteries, which are built to power start-stop technology, backup cameras, entertainment systems, and all the other electrical demands of vehicles today. You can learn more about Clarius and the Optima brand batteries and in fact, Clarius, of all the batteries in the world, 1 in 3 is a Clarius. I bet you didn't know that. You can learn more at autobatteries.com. Okay, 888 Car Clinic is the number. Hannah will take your call. I have some great information about fall car care tips to keep you safely on the road. I've got some interesting information about the Mustang EV SUV. Mustang EV, well, that's an oxymoron. Mustang SUV, that's an oxymoron. Or is it? Well, we're going to see what Ford's up to when I come back. 888-227-2546 is your number to call. I'm Bobby Likis. Stay tuned. Likis, you're going to love us. Time for another edition of Cooling System Q&A, brought to you by Motorrad, your first choice for vehicle thermostats and caps. Why is the thermostat so important? Cooling system regulates engine temperature and helps prevent overheating. While it's comprised of several components, the thermostat plays a critical role with efficient cooling system operation. It must regulate coolant flow properly to maintain a specific engine operating temperature, in addition to providing quick warm-up. Motorrad's new stainless steel thermal element Ultrastat is unmatched for corrosion resistance. Its revolutionary Reax wax mixture provides quicker reaction time. The Ultrastat also features bilinear valve technology, which prevents thermal shock to cooling system components, gradually increasing coolant flow versus instant maximum flow found in traditional thermostats. The Ultrastat precisely controls engine temperature to ensure the lowest emission standards, maximum fuel efficiency, and terrific interior cabin comfort. The Motorrad Ultrastat line is the perfect thermostat upgrade option with coverage for over 160 million vehicles on the road today. Motorrad, leading the way in coverage and service. Car repairs get expensive, and most of us don't have the money for them. That's where brands like K-Seal can really be a lifesaver. If you've had a car with a coolant leak, you know how expensive it can be. It's not usually the newer, higher-dollar vehicles that have leaks. It's the older vehicles, say $900 to $2,000 range, the cars we depend on for daily transportation and other vital tasks. If you're experiencing a coolant leak and the repair cost exceeds the value of your car, you don't necessarily have to take your car off the road. Try using K-Seal. We've seen our share of these in our shop where, before K-Seal, once a diagnosis was made of a leaking intake gasket, radiator, heater core, or head gasket, the car was sent for recycling and the owner had to purchase another. Before giving it up, try K-Seal. It's a pour-in solution that just may allow you to keep your car longer without spending more on repairs than the car's worth. Find K-Seal at automotive retailers everywhere, like AutoZone, and get more information at kseal.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started with this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. The Car Care Council, our partners, have a new campaign that is interesting to me and something that will benefit to you. It's an Arctic Blast wake-up call. Winterize your vehicle now. Now versus later. Really, for more information, including the Car Care Guide, you can go to carcare.org. That is a nonprofit organization of which we are partnered with, and I bring this message to you on a weekly basis so that you'll know where to go get information if it's not tuned in on Saturday morning, that is. The bottom line is, with the recent cold weather in much of the U.S., it really should be a wake-up call to you, and especially if you haven't winterized your vehicles. And Rich White is the executive director there at Car Care Council. He's a super nice guy and a very knowledgeable. The recent record, I'm quoting him, the recent record low temperatures are a harsh reminder to be car care aware. Motorists should invest a little time now to check their vehicles before Arctic temperatures strike again. That information is from Rich White and from the Car Care Council. So what does this mean? Well, consider here are a couple items for you. Really cold temps reduce a vehicle's battery power. In fact, your battery may have X power, but at freezing it has half that much, in fact, 50%. So you want to make sure that the connections are clean and tight and corrosion free. And if the battery is more than 3 to 4 years old, you might just replace it. Again, keep the gas tank at least half full at all times, so that there's a chance of moisture forming in the gas lines and possibly freezing. That's definitely a to-do. Why would that happen? Because the water condenses on the tank walls, just like when you store a car. You put 95% filled gas tank, and then you use like a Stabil or some stabilizer in the vehicle, and that'll give you at least a year's stability to maintain that fuel and help keep the moisture out of the tank. And then last but not least, stock an emergency kit that maybe includes an ice scraper, a snow brush, jumper cables for sure, flares, a blanket, extra clothes, bottled water, dry food, snacks, and medication. So there you have it. Information from our partners at the Car Care Council. For more information, go to carcare.org. Okay, I shared with you a little earlier, and I'll invite you to call now. I'll do that just as a courtesy. I understand toward the second half of the program, we get so many calls that I can't get to you. So early on in the program is where we suggest that you get in so that you can be assured that I'll answer your question. That 888 Car Clinic is the number. 888-227-2546. Well, here's something I think is very interesting. And I say very interesting because maybe 5 years ago, the General Motors, the executives at GM behind closed doors said, made statements, something to the effect that, and maybe it was more than 5 years, but I'm going to say 5 years ago because nobody really knows. They talked about the fact that Tesla could not be ignored any longer. The EV, electric vehicle, could not be ignored any longer, so they decided to become part of that. Now, GM, and maybe this was 10 years ago, but the fact is, the EV market is still a niche, folks. It's not broad, but it will become broader and broader. I mean, how do I know that? I know it because the manufacturers, to include all OEMs, are investing millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in EVs. And as history would show, whatever the car makers make is whatever people buy. But now, if you're concerned that you have to stop and charge a battery, you're not going to consider an EV, but that will become less and less of an issue. Why? Because we're a free market, and there are going to be market stations, electric vehicle stations, that are going to be constructed and brought up to par. Par meaning you could charge your car in, let's say, 15 minutes across the nation. And you can do that now. There's an infrastructure in place now, but not like every regular gas station on the corner. But you don't need every gas station on the corner. That's just for local competition. But let me share this with you. I thought really interesting. And the number to call is 888 Car Clinic. Again, 888-227-2546. 2546. On Thursday, Ford Motor Company announced their pre-sales for its Mustang Mach-E electric SUV. Get that. A Mustang Mach-E electric SUV. I mean, Mustang and electric is an oxymoron, and Mustang and SUV is an oxymoron. But this vehicle that they're offering pre-sales on has a range of 300 miles. They'll begin selling the vehicle on Sunday, November the 17th, which is like, how many hours is that from now? Like tomorrow. The iconic American automaker plans to launch a line of 40 electric vehicles by 2022. So that's not a trivial. Why would they do that if not for the fact that we're going to be buying them? They can't make products that people aren't going to buy. But the Mach E's launch marks Ford's first real milestone in electrification and an increased effort by the legacy U.S. automakers to be relevant in the space. What does that mean? Relevant in the space. Well, according to New York-based Credit Suisse analyst Don Levy, he says Tesla has been the only game in town, and get this, folks, the only game in town in the U.S. electric vehicle market, commanding 80% market share, but expects that to change due to all of the competition entering the market. So, believe it or not, that's the same thing, more or less, same mindset that GM had 2, 4, 5, 6 years ago behind closed doors. So we cannot ignore this market, and cannot ignore the fact that Elon Musk and Tesla is going to create a market. And the real issue is that everyone, and to this day, I guess we all think, well, yeah, but that's a $100,000 car. Well, yeah, I guess it is a $100,000 plus car. But here's a vehicle that will initially be offered in 5 versions called Select, Premium, California Route 1. How about that? California Route 1, First Edition, and GT at base prices ranging from $43,895 to $60,500 before tax credits are applied. So it's a compact utility vehicle. It'll come in a variety of rear-wheel and all-wheel drive configurations along with 2 battery packs, a standard range and extended range that will provide between 230 and 300 miles of driving between charges. And power for the various models is listed from 255 horsepower to 333 horsepower, and from 306 pound-feet of torque to 429 pound-feet of torque. Well, what that means is, depending on the load that you want to carry, this EV, the Mach E SUV Mustang, which is an SUV Mustang. That's kind of hard for me to say. Anyway, Ford says the Mach E can be recharged at a rate of 47 miles worth of electricity in 10 minutes. 47 miles. So 3 times 5, 50, 100. So you can stop in 30 minutes at a DC fast charging station. Now, I don't know if you know this or not. Anyway, it's really interesting to me, and I got a picture of it here, which looks like the front of it looks like a Tesla, only because there's no radiator and it's aerodynamic. The rear of it looks like an F-Pace Jaguar to me. But anyway, it's called the Future of Exhilaration. Welcome to the stable, all-electric Mustang Mach E. 300-mile range, 0 to 60 options, mid 3 second, and an estimated range 47 miles in 10 minutes. So you can reserve now. If you go to Ford.com, I'm sure you'll see, or just Google Mach, M-A-C-H -E SUV, and that's the Ford offering. I think that's interesting. I say interesting. I'm not particularly interested in it, but it's just another example of what the automakers are building and planning on doing and are doing with regard to sales of vehicles that are not on the road today. So when you think about it, if you were the oil industry, you'd have to be concerned. And therein lies the single largest game changer of all of the hype or all of the offerings that Ford or Tesla or anyone could do. It's really not as much about the EV industry as it is about what is the oil industry going to do. Just like buggy whips went away when there were no horse and buggies. What's the oil industry going to do? Well, believe it or not, there's still plenty of products to be made from crude. And your calls when I come back. Don't go away. In the service bay this week, an 05 Chevy Silverado. The truck was experiencing a front brake noise and a pull to the left when stopping. We performed a thorough inspection and found the front pads completely worn out on the driver's side. The passenger side looked to be okay, but we noticed a loose wheel bearing on that side. Why would the pads be worn on just one side? It was a seized driver's side brake caliper. So we replaced the pads and rotors on the front along with the driver's side caliper. Also replaced the passenger side wheel bearing. Our parts choice for the repair, Omnicraft. With today's complex vehicles, not every part works or works well. Quality, fit, and function is a belief system in my shop. Approved and backed by Ford Motor Company for most non-Ford and non-Lincoln vehicles, Omnicraft quality brake parts will help ensure vehicle reliability and longevity. Learn more about Omnicraft brakes and other Omnicraft parts at omnicraftautoparts.com. Omnicraft Auto Parts, backed by Ford. Being car care aware is important all year round, but winter is an especially critical time as harsher conditions can strain your automobile. Here are a few items to check, courtesy of the Car Care Council. Winter means shorter days and longer nights. It's a great time to make sure interior and exterior lights are working properly, and don't forget to make sure your headlights are properly aimed. This item is often overlooked. The best way to warm up your engine in the winter is to drive gently at the start. Make sure your ice scraper and snow brush are accessible, and replenish your emergency kit. Jumper cables, a flashlight, blankets, extra clothes, bottled water, non-perishable food, and a first aid kit with any medication that may be needed. It may seem like a lot, but better safe than sorry. For more great tips, videos, and recommended service schedules, visit carcare.org. And while you're there, order a free copy of the Car Care Guide for your glove compartment. That's carcare.org.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip
from Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Great program today. Thank you for tuning in. Always 10 till noon Eastern Time, Bobby Likis Car Clinic on your local AM and or FM radio stations, and also available at watchbobbylive.com. Bobby Likis Car Clinic brought to you in part by K-Seal, a one-step pour-in solution designed to stop coolant leaks and help prevent future leaks. You can find K-Seal at Menards, and in addition, you can find it at part stores nationwide. Don't just seal your cooling system or your block or your water pump or your radiator. K-Seal it. Go to kseal.com for all the information and all the applications that you need, including large vehicles, large trucks, RVs, those sorts. kseal.com. 888-227-2546. I want to reach out to our affiliate in Rogers, Arkansas. KURM, folks, Bobby Likis Car Clinic and all of our team here at Car Clinic Network would like to congratulate our longtime affiliate, KURM, 790 AM and 100.3 FM in Rogers, Arkansas. This month, KURM, that's the Colonel station, KURM, celebrates its 40th anniversary in radio broadcasting. And folks, KURM commenced broadcasting on the airwaves at noon on November the 9th, 1979, and has broadcast Bobby Likis Car Clinic, well, for almost 20 years or even more, a long time that we've been on that station. We get a lot of calls from that area and a lot of friends there. And I want to thank Kerm, the Colonel, and all the staff and the team there at KURM for continuing the long-standing partnership with Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I'd also take this opportunity to say hello to Steve Womack. He's a congressman. He is a native of Russellville, Arkansas, and I bring him up because that's the Colonel's son. And in the fall of 1979, Steve actually relocated to Rogers from Russellville, where he and his father established KURM Radio. And Steve served as station manager from 1979 to 1990. And then in 98, I think interestingly enough, Steve was elected mayor of Rogers and served in that capacity for like 12 years. And during his tenure, the city of Rogers experienced exponential, you say that word twice, growth. And here's what's important, adding $1 billion in new development with major improvements to the city's infrastructure, retail sales, just quality of life amenities. So he's a cool guy. He's a can-do, will-do Congressman Stephen Womack. He also served on a lot of boards, commissions in Northwest Arkansas. And he's a gentleman. I hear from him on occasion. But more importantly, for all you folks in Rogers and Russellville, well, not Russellville, but Rogers and Bentonville that tune in to KURM there, a special thank you for tuning into Bobby Likis Car Clinic and to the Colonel for airing Bobby Likis Car Clinic on his great station. He's a whale of a guy. I know that. I've never met him, but I know of his reputation, and I've spoken with him on multiple occasions. Okay, let's go to, I mentioned to you 7 fall car care tips to keep you safely on the road. The first one, what's the first one? I mean, what's the show been about earlier today? Batteries, and more batteries. Test your car battery. Why is that? Because winter will take and sap 50% of the strength. If you're a bodybuilder and you can press 500 pounds, well, if the weather's 0, you can press 250 pounds. Well, what is wrong with me today? I don't have any power today. That's your battery. So just know that. So if you've got a battery that's borderline, then you're in trouble. But you don't know it because it cranked this morning or it cranked yesterday. But this morning, so, you know, nobody wants to get stuck in cold weather. So a healthy battery, just here's the bottom line. A healthy battery will read between 12.4 to 12.7 volts across both terminals. You go to the battery, put a voltmeter. It's really simple. It's got to have 12.4 volts to 12.7. If it's below 12, you know, say it's 12.3 or 12.0, 11.9, let's say, then you'll want to go drive the vehicle with everything off, no air conditioner, no heater, no headlights, so you can't do this at night, and go drive it for about 30 minutes and do a 30-minute trip of not stop and go, but like take it on the interstate and drive out 10 miles and come back 10 miles, and you've gone 30 minutes. And then you recheck it, and if it's still in the below 12.4, you got a battery problem. No, just to be safe, replace the battery. Also, tire pressure. For every 10 degrees ambient temperature drop, you'll lose 1 to 2 psi. And that doesn't mean that when the temperature comes back up, it's going to come back. It won't come back. I don't know where it goes, but it escapes. And yes, air does go through the sidewalls of the tire, and it does leak through the sidewalls. It migrates its way out, and so that's for sure. Check your tires, and also you can take a penny and take Abe's head of the penny, hold it between your thumb and forefinger, and put the Abe's head into the tread. And if you can see the top of Abe's head, then your tire is worn out and needs to be replaced. You got it? Abe's head, penny, stick it in the tread of the tire, and if you can see the top of the head, then the tread's not deep enough, it needs to be replaced, and that code, really, that measurement's 230 seconds. Now, if you've got 330 seconds, do not replace the tires. If you've got 4, do not replace the tires. But you can also use Abe's head as a tread depth and put it on the center, on the inner, and on the outer tread. And if you see different parts of his skull, I mean, if there's less of his skull showing on the inside and more of it showing on the outside, then the tire is wearing crookedly and needs to be aligned. And that tire will never straighten up, by the way. You can never unwear a tire. If a tire's worn on the front of your car and you put it on the rear, you think it'll straighten out. It will not. That's just the way it is. Change your windshield washer fluid, especially if you're in really cold climates, because you want antifreeze coolant. I mean, not coolant, antifreeze. Not antifreeze, not coolant, but you want anti-freezing windshield washer fluid. Otherwise, you spray that windshield washer and it turns ice on the windshield. I've actually done that. It's really pretty, but it's blinding. You can't drive the car during that time. And in addition to your tire tread and your windshield, check your HVAC system, your heater, your air conditioner, and make sure that that's in good shape. And if your car has a cabin air filter, I could show you pictures, and if you go to our Pinterest account, you can see those pictures of really yucky things that you're driving around and you're carrying all that debris around and breathing it in the car. So if you don't change the cabin air filter, so if you go in, and I'm not a proponent of fast in, fast out lube centers. I'm just not, because it takes time because an oil change is not about changing the oil. Believe it or not, an oil change periodically is about inspecting the vehicle for known or upcoming challenges that can grow into large repair bills or breakdowns. That's what you should think about, not changing your oil and filter. And if I were to ask 1,000 people, 100 people, or 10 people coming out of the mall, how's your car? What do you drive? Oh, I drive so-and-so. Have you taken care of it? Oh, yeah. And here's what follows. I change the oil and filter regularly. Try it yourself, folks. I'm in the business, but you try this. Ask a loved one, not someone in the house with you, because you may know already what their habits are. Ask a friend, and you don't know what their car habits are, car care habits, that is. And say, hey, I see you're driving a new Malibu. How many miles you got on it? Well, 80,000. Oh, wow. Has it been a good car? Oh, yeah, it's a great car. Do you take care of it? Oh, yeah, I changed the oil and filter. Well, what about the coolant? What about it? What about transmission fluid? Well, what about it? What about brake fluid? See, brake fluid's hygroscopic. What it means, it absorbs moisture. And all brake fluid in all cars is exposed to the atmosphere because there's a hole in the lid of the brake master reservoir. Did you know that, Fabio? Yeah, otherwise, when your pads wear, and the pads continue to wear, and so that means that the piston has to follow out the pad, in the caliper. Well, it takes fluid to push the piston out. Well, that fluid doesn't come back if the pad's worn over time. So that fluid goes away. So the only way fluid can go out to the caliper and not be sucked back into the master reservoir is for air to replace the fluid. So that air, and that's why they put a rubber bellows. When you take a master reservoir cap off, you'll see a rubber bellows there. Usually it's stuck to or it's laying on top of the fluid. That's to help separate the moisture from the air from the fluid, because brake fluid is hygroscopic, which means it pulls moisture out of the air. And for that reason, you should change the brake fluid every 2 years. Fact. It doesn't make a difference what you drive. Now, if you're in Las Vegas, it's not as big a deal. Why? Because of humidity. But if you're in the tropics in like Florida or Texas, or you name it, whatever if your humidity is in the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and ours is in the 90s, 2 years is the limit. Inspect the brake system. I can't tell you how many times I venture to guess. Gosh, I won't even guess here. It's mind-boggling at how many cars need new brakes and people don't know it until scraping, until shudder, until judder, until noise. If they have sensors where they screech like a chalkboard, that's what they use. They use a little metal pin that is buried in the brake pad lining, and when the lining wears down, it exposes the pin, and the pin is mounted to the metal part of the brake pad, the backing pad, and it scrubs on the rotor just like a chalk on a chalkboard, and squeals. So you let off, and you look around. If you're in a neighborhood, you let off because you're embarrassed. Well, that's not too late, but that's a good indicator that your car needs brakes. And folks, without exception, I venture to say this, no brake job is what's called a pad slap. So if you get a really good price on brakes that you can't believe is such a great price, ask them if they're doing a pad slap. And see, that's an internal word in the industry. A pad slap is where you take the wheels off the car, you take the retainers out of the caliper, you take the old pads off, push the piston back, and slap a set of new pads on and call that a brake job. Then the new pads have to ride against the ruined, worn rotors. Even if they're good enough to machine, the surface is worn and it won't match the new flat pad. Plus there are lubrication requirements and new stainless steel hardware to ensure that the new pads guide back and forth when you step on the brakes. So just remember the two words, pad slap. And when you hear of a really good brake deal, say, well, is that a pad slap? And look at the expression that you're going to see from the person. And then last but not least, on the car care tips, check your interior and exterior lights. You got to see, and you want to be seen. Your calls at 888 Car Clinic when I come back. Folks, recently a 99 Chevrolet Blazer came into the shop. The owner was having problems with hesitation upon acceleration. He'd already changed out several parts: spark plugs, wires, ignition coil, mass airflow sensor, fuel filter, and the air filter element. He even changed the thermostat and coolant temperature sensor. Still had the same problem after putting a lot of money in this car, and he was frustrated. We dug a little deeper, cleaned the throttle body, and checked for trouble codes. No codes. So we recommended Berryman B12 Chem Tool. Carbon deposits and dirty fuel injector nozzles are a common problem with drivability in late model engines. We also recommended a higher quality gasoline. The customer noticed improvement on the first day, and only a few days and a few hundred miles later, the problem was completely gone. Berryman B12 Chem Tool features HEST, Berryman's exclusive high-energy solvent technology. The result is a more complete combination of available chemical technologies. Drive to BerrymanProducts.com for more information. That's BerrymanProducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease. And she showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment, this edition and segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. So I'll invite you to participate if you have a car question. Miss Hannah will take your call at 888-227-2546. That's 888 Car Clinic. Make it easy for you. 888-227-2546. As I sit here, I wonder sometimes what information that you would really like to know more about your, what specific part of your car would you like to know more about? Would it be oil? Would it be fuel? Would it be tires? Earlier, I mentioned the Mach E SUV Mustang. Yeah, the Mustang. Boy, the Mustang guys are not going to like that. I can guarantee you the Mustang guys are not going to like that. But you know what's going to happen? After the SUV, the Mach E, and it's pretty smart, I guess, marketing-wise on Ford Motor Company's part, to take one of the most popular, other than the F-150 truck, which is the #1 selling truck in the world, I guess in the U.S. At least, for 40 years or better. That's amazing. It really is amazing. People love their Ford trucks. I'd like to see Ford change the look of the slab side. I call it slab side because I don't see any art there. It's just a slab side pickup. So if you drive a Ford F-150, I'm not saying you're driving a slab or a slug. I'm just saying that I'd like to see Ford dress that up a bit. Now, and if you buy, the high performance unit, it has some, fins or a little gill, a little side ornament that's not functional, but it looks like it should be. Like, high performance cars have little side chrome pieces and what have you. They build base models. All the cars are base model. So everything starts as a base model, whether it's a Ford or Chevrolet or Mercedes-Benz. And then they up the price and up the accessories from there. I mean, my car started as a base model. It was a 2013 Jaguar XJL. That's the long edition. And I started to add accessories to it that I really liked. And I love the car. Don't get me wrong. It does have some inherent faults. Now that I've owned the car since 2013, I have 66,000 miles on it. Miles has not been an issue. Water pumps were an issue. Brake rotors were an issue. Tires, 24,000 miles set of tires. In the cold weather, the tires they're Dunlops, and because I drive like 4 miles from my home to the studio, that's not enough time to get the tires round, and they flat spot. So it's got, you feel it. I don't know if everybody would feel that. That's why I said, hey, did you feel that? Oh, yeah, I feel that. But I noticed those things like that. So that's a part of the car that I don't like. I know I could change the brand of tire, but these tires are so very quiet. But I'm not sure it's the tires that are that quiet, or it's the fact that the car is so well insulated. I'm sure it's both, both. And I'm not willing to sacrifice the quietness to chance another brand of tire. Although this next time I'm thinking of maybe trying. I'm not sure yet. Continentals, maybe Continental tires. I once made a crack about Continental tires years and years ago to a customer who owned a Mercedes. And I said, "Oh, you don't have Michelin's, you got Continental tires on there." And they had this funny-looking rib on the outside wall. Well, actually, it was a curb to keep from curbing the wheel. It was a tire had a rib built up. I guess that's why they had it there. Or maybe it was just to make it look different. But anyway, bottom line, I made a wise crack about that because I was just new in the automotive service business, and thought I knew a lot of things about a lot of things. And I learned through the years that what I don't know is what I don't know. So that's a good lesson for all young technicians and young business owners. You don't know what you don't know, and you learn. Unfortunately, if you learn through experience, you learn the hard way. Now, when you do learn something the hard way, whether it's about business or it's about repairing cars or dealing with retail customers, you tend to remember those events more so than the wins. So you have to remember the wins along the way so you can enjoy the successes along with the failures. And if you have enough failures, you become very wise and you become more in tune with what it takes to do the best job. And that's where the difference starts in ownership, doing and performing the best job that you can. And then for me, it's a huge pass the man in the mirror test. At the end of the day or the beginning of the day, you reflect on what your actions were and could you have done a better job? Would it be possible to have done a better job? And communication is the key that I found to doing the best job. And the communication means that if you have a new policy with your teammates, then you share that with them. And the best way to do that is to call a meeting. And of course, a lot of companies call meetings all the time. And that's not what you want to do. But when you have something that's really relevant to everyone in the operation on a day-to-day basis, you get all of them in the same room, in the same little area, and you make it as short as possible and explain what the benefits will be to you, your company, and to your customers. And if you think I'm not talking about automobile service, I'm definitely talking about business in general, but specifically automotive service. Because let me explain this to you. With some exceptions, there's not an owner of a car out there that knows anything about his or her car. That's from me after my 48 years and 8 months in the automotive service business independently, professionally. You just don't know what you don't know about your car, and you don't know anything about your car. All you know is that when it's low on gas, you got to stop and fill it up. And you know that when you have a flat tire, you got to stop and get a tire or call a tow truck. But you really don't know. And quite candidly, most car owners don't want to know. They're in that, you know, oh, it's just voodoo and black magic. I don't. It's too much. It's too much. But it's not too much. And that's one of the values that I feel every Saturday when I take this mic, is that I can share with you information that you just can't get anywhere else. Because I don't have my hand in your pocket. I'm not trying to sell you anything. Granted, I do promote many items on this program because I used those items in my service shop, and I know they are better, and I use them in my own car, like the AGM battery. You know, I use an AGM battery in my car. Why? Because it's better than the one that the factory sent with the car. I can tell you right now it's better because both my start-stop battery and my big battery failed in 4 years. So it shows me the quality wasn't there. You know why? Because it was all about the price. Manufacturers build cars, and they build millions of cars. So if they can save $2 a car or $1 or 20 cents a car, the bean counters are going to say save the money. Make no mistake about that. There's a balance, just like it's a compromise, I guess you'd call it. You know, and you say, well, they warranty their cars. Well, they warranty their cars. I mean, let's say Toyota. Toyota says do not change the transmission fluid in your car until 60,000 miles. Well, guess what the warranty is on a transmission? 60,000 miles. But if you go to any knowledgeable service manager and buy them lunch or buy them a cup of coffee and get them away from their environment and say, would you change the fluid in my car at 30,000 miles? Yeah, I would. But if you ask them on the door when you walk in, no, the factory says 60,000, never. Ford says 150,000 mile fluid. There ain't no such things, folks. 150,000 miles. Think about this. It's an oil-based, I'm talking about transmission fluid. It's an oil-based product. So let's just say that we're in your kitchen right now, and we're going to take and put a gallon of cooking oil in a pot and put it on your stove, uncovered, and bring it up to 200 degrees. Now, obviously that would burn you. 140 degrees is a pain threshold, but you really couldn't expect to cook anything at 200 degrees. I mean, not for any length of time. Well, okay, let's just leave that 200 degree oil on your stove for the whole day. Now wait, let's leave it for a week. Oh no, let's leave it for a month. Let's leave it for a year. We're talking 150,000 mile oil here, except the oil in the car is running 240 degrees. And we're going to leave it for 150,000 miles? Really? So if you can't leave oil on your stove for that length of time without it turning into thick molasses and being oxidized, and pretty soon you have to throw the whole pot away because you couldn't get whatever was in the pot out anyway. And yet the manufacturer would say, well, why would they do that? Well, because people like to hear that. Like years ago, there was a Forever battery that came out. That was the name of it, Forever battery. I'll tell you the name of the company. It's Firestone. I'll never forget it because a good friend of mine and I had motorhomes. And he came to me, hey, I've got the solution to motorhomes, because at that time when we didn't have, we didn't have computerized chargers. We had plugged the motorhome in, which had a little 4 8-amp charger. So it charged the battery. Well, when the battery got full, it charged the battery, kept charging it, and pretty soon it would evaporate the electrolyte, and the battery would go bad. Typical in a motorhome. Now, that's common. Of course, today we have, like I use, the Optima Digital 400 charger, and the little plug for Optima, but that's the bottom line is that's what I use on my cars that I don't drive to keep the battery stable, because when the battery gets up to par, the charger shuts down and it goes into a maintainer state. But anyway, getting back to the Firestone Forever battery. They guaranteed the battery forever. So my friend, who was a really neat guy, owned the McDonald's franchise, and he said, and he really was a very frugal individual, just from his family roots. And I will tell you, Firestone bought him 3 batteries over a period of, I guess, 6 years or 7 years for his RV. And ultimately, they did away with the forever battery, because there's nothing forever about anything mechanical or anything, period, except space. We're not forever by any means. Anyway, it's just really interesting stuff, and from a philosophical standpoint, I share information that I feel and that I want you to know and that I think would be a benefit. I do want to give a plug here for the Silver Star Ultra Sylvania. You can get a $15 gift card and earn double points with a purchase of select Sylvania bulbs. So take it from me, Bobby Likis. My experience recommended to my customers and my family, if you heard earlier, Silver Star Ultra Sylvania bulbs will outperform the existing bulbs in your car from the factory, period. So when you get an opportunity and you want to really see what you're going down the road be seen, you replace the existing bulbs with a Silver Star Ultras from Sylvania, from O'Reilly Auto Parts. And if you upgrade your headlights, like I'm suggesting, you can get a $15 gift card, plus you can earn double points at the same time with this purchase. So this week, go do it. Let's go to New York, take a call from Carol. Miss Carol, where you been so long? I haven't heard from you in a while.
Well, what's funny, it's because I'm not having any problems. I was actually listening. I didn't listen to the whole program last week, but I heard like the last hour, and I was embarrassed, and I was by myself. I'm embarrassed because you said, she hasn't called in a while. I go, oh, my God, he's talking about me. Okay, I have to say one thing.
Okay.
I misrepresented the fact what I wanted to talk to you about because I didn't want to give you a heads up. So, in essence, I lied.
Well, that's a nice way to put it. In what fashion?
Oh, okay, so I don't want to talk about tires, but when you said tires, and it said something about the way something was done, so when it hits the curb, you know that you're hitting the curb. Is that what you said? I didn't catch the whole thing.
Well,
what you said.
Years ago, when I first opened my shop, it was a Continental tire, and it had a big rubber rib protruding out around the perimeter. Not the perimeter, the sidewall had a half-inch rubber, like a burn, like a molded rib. That
interesting. What brand was that?
Continental. And I made a joke, Carol, about the Continental because it was a Mercedes. I'll never forget, it was a little diesel Mercedes. This was in a 71, 2, or 3 because I was my first location before I built my building. But anyway, I looked at the tires that Continental, and I scoffed, like a typical guy will do when he doesn't know what he's talking about. So that's true. So I scoffed. So then I got to thinking about that. I said, well, gosh, maybe I need to check the facts because I learned really fast on that when people say they know what they're talking about, that you have to ask them, where did you get that information? Because most people don't know where they got the information. They just heard it at water cooler, So the bottom line, I did some investigating and found out that Continental was the second largest tire manufacturer in the world. Duh.
I'm trying to remember over the years, over the decades, if I've ever had a Continental. Maybe I did a long time ago. But here's my question.
Okay.
How old do you have to be to remember curb feelers?
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding? Well, that's classic. In the 50s.
That's what I thought of when you talked about the tire hitting the curb.
Yeah, curb feelers. And, folks, curb feelers were rude little 8-inch wires, rude I call it, because they were attached to the fender, and Fabio's looking because he doesn't know what a curb feeler is. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. Because this is the end of the hour, and because we should have started this earlier, you're going to call me next week. I'm not going to tell anybody here in the house what a curb feeler is, and I'm going to make my Fabio and Hannah and Jonathan's one of those. What is it? You cannot, Jonathan, do not go this week and look up a curb feeler. And next week, Miss Carol, you call me back, first hour, second hour, and we'll take up the conversation and we'll explain what a curb feeler is. And it's not somebody you hire, folks, I can tell you that. Carol, nice to hear from you today, folks. That's the end of the broadcast for today. I'll see you next week. A call early. Like us, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Using Hest high-energy solvent technology, Berryman's B12 Chem Tool dissolves gum, varnish, and carbon deposits in the fuel system that restores lost power and peak performance. But don't take our word for it. Retired airline pilot Captain Cal knows something about fuel systems and engines. After using B12 Chem Tool in his 76 Thunderbird, Cal says the vehicle runs better than new. According to Cal, it performs like a DC-9, his favorite airplane. Learn more about Berryman B12 Chem Tool and other great products at BerrymanProducts.com.
O'Reilly! Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts for our See Better, Drive Safer sale going on right now. Get great deals on everything from wiper blades to headlight bulbs. Plus, save on your next oil change with 5 quarts of O'Reilly Full Synthetic Motor Oil and MicroGuard Filter, just $25.99. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
P. Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, it starts my morning. Happy morning, your name is Folgers Mountain Grow. Now you're here, your aroma helps me wake up.